All right, I haven't got time to mark this motherfucker. Here we go again. We can't hear anybody. Nobody can talk to anybody.
You guessed it, Pressure Points with your two favorite hosts. I'm D, and this is Girl Scout Hater AJ. We're coming at you with Season 7, Episode 11, Reagan's Cheese Mine. I'm talking about government cheese. I'm talking about Ronald Reagan. I'm talking about the Great Depression, so find us on Instagram and, you know, the other stuff, Patreon, pointsopressure.com, what the fuck ever. Get to it.
Well, turn the fucking thing off, you dumbass.
That's all right that you forgot the word Patreon.
My brain shut off for a minute there.
Yeah.
Oh, welcome back.
Yeah,
We're a day late, $1 short.
Sorry.
Well, actually, not even a day late.
We're
It'll
still
be
on
like
the same
12,
day.
It'll be like 14 hours late.
Yeah, so sorry.
Yeah, it works.
I don't know.
It's fine. You guys will survive.
I'm not going to explain it.
Yeah, you'll figure it out.
Hey, comment on the most recent Instagram post why you think we were one day late.
Yeah, half a day late. Oh, shit.
No.
How was your week?
It's been busy, but by my own hand, which is a nice change.
Yeah, for real.
Very nice change. We got an episode of Voices out.
Oh,
a
nice.
new one. It's pretty good, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Here's the I'll give a teaser. This dude and his family, he was pretty young, obviously. They were, forced to sell their business, forced to sell all their belongings and everything. But they were like their family was like the main job supplier in the small town that they were at near the border of Poland. So a lot of people were just kind of like, I respect you. I got no problems with you. Yeah, you had to sell your business, but we're not going to treat you like crap.
Oh.
And then they were forced to move to Berlin, and they stayed there until 1941.
Jesus.
Crazy.
Hey, if you're interested in hearing about it, go check us out on what's that platform? What is it? Patreon.
Oh yeah.
Go check us out on Patreon.
It's fun.
Yeah.
All right. That's the segue.
Yeah.
That's the advertisement.
I mean, mind you, this series has been in limbo for a year and a half.
Yeah. Sorry.
Part 2 finally came out.
Part 2. It's
yeah.
like 6 episodes.
Oh, I don't know. Every time I say that he's working on his series called Voices, you go, I promise I'll do something with it.
I did.
And so, yeah.
Yeah, and it was good. I've got some more coming down the pipeline.
Yeah, good shit.
I still have an active archival account, so that's great. Don't have to renew that.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, check us out at Points O Pressure, patreon.com/Points O Pressure.
Yeah, I got to... Okay, so this is a convoluted story that honestly means nothing that I'm about to share with you.
Oh, okay.
So yesterday I went to my grandparents' house with the family, early Easter kind of get-together thing.
Oh, okay.
And my grandparents have this old Edison phonograph.
Okay.
Like, it's mahogany. It's a big stand. It's like as tall as me, so not that tall. But, it's like 5'2".
3.5 feet tall.
Yeah, yeah, it's like 4'8". No, but it's made of mahogany, and the top opens, and then the bottom there's a big opening, and it's got a big cone, and that's where the audio comes out.
Yeah.
And it's a hand crank. It's no electricity, so you have to crank it, and it builds up the tension, and then spins it. And they're old 78 records with 2 big drawers in them.
Okay.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Probably was purchased during World War I.
Okay.
From what I could find on the patents. But I've seen it before. I've never heard it before, but...
Then they took it to the dump.
They threw it away. They left it out in the snow.
It wouldn't... Oh,
no.
they did?
No.
Oh, that's
Thank
like,
Christ,
God. No. Fucking average boomer
They
experience.
know better. They know so better about that. Because when my grandmother's mother and father, parents, my great-grandparents, moved into one of their houses in Idaho, early on in their relationship, which they got married like when my great-grandfather was on leave during World War II. When they moved into their first house together, pretty much, I think it was their first one, it was already in that house.
Yeah.
But it was just so big and bulky, the previous owner was like,
fucking move it.
we don't care, we'll just leave it here. And then the owner before that, same thing.
It's like how pianos used to come with homes.
Yeah, exactly. And my dad growing up would listen to that record player but specifically Freckles. It's called Freckles by... I've got a little YouTube video to it that my father sent me. Who's it by? Come on, pop up. By Nora Bayes. It's from 1919.
Okay.
And it's goofy. Go look it up.
Freckles by Nora Bayes.
Yeah, we'll listen to it after.
Yeah.
And it's something about sipping cider through a straw. Just,
And
it's
I'm
so
sure
goofy.
he just still loves it.
He
just
loves it
talks
still.
up.
But we got to show my nephew
That was
it.
his autistic stim song.
100%.
When he was a kid.
Because he was Freckles growing up. Because, he's a redhead. He's got freckles. I mean, maybe he doesn't know this connection. Maybe I'm outing him. But he's the kid in the story who's kind of getting up to no good, who's kind of... Even though he was kind of seen as a goody two-shoes.
Nora was his real mom. She was singing about her long-lost son.
Yeah, from oh my God, 50 years earlier. They saw him in a vision. But no, it was just a really cool experience to kind of see...
Yeah, get to see that
my
whole
father,
thing.
now a grandfather, sharing this musical experience with with my nephew, with his grandson. From
with your grandpa.
1919,
Yeah.
when that
That's
song
cool.
came out. So
You should get that record player. You should convince him.
I will fight tooth and nail
Yeah.
when they pass away. If I don't get that record player, I will steal it.
Yeah, it's
like
fair.
100%. I will break into whoever gets it
With a dolly.
with a
and
dolly,
steal
like
it.
a dolly and some very strong people. I'll get
An
the
entire team.
what's the Bible thumping team that rips phone cases in half?
Power
team?
Fucking
I will
God's
get
God's
the
heroes
power
or whatever
team.
it is.
To help me steal this. God,
Jesus
it's
Christ.
so good. I already want to go over it because I have a record player that can play them, and it has plugs, so I can convert it. And I want to do that because there's some really
cool.
good old records in there.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, that was my story.
Yeah.
That was my filler.
Hey, there you go. It works.
But yeah, it's really cool. It's beautiful. It was a beautiful little piece of art.
That's sick. Well, you'll have to, when you go again, you'll have to take a picture of it so I can see it.
I got a picture.
Just, pull it up on like your auction house.
It's called an Edison Model C250 Diamond Disc Phonograph.
Jesus.
And I do believe that's the crappier version of it. They go for like $2,000 on eBay.
Jesus. But imagine the shipping.
Oh my God. It weighs about 1,000,000 pounds. Here, let me.
Oh, okay.
So that green thing pops off, and that's where
I like the church windows.
Yeah, on the eBay.
Yeah.
And then that's where the records are.
Yeah, sick. That's cool.
And even then, this one's newer
Yeah.
than looking at that label. This one's a newer version, so mine's probably better.
Oh shit.
Worth more. Hey, so if anybody wants to pay about $700 in freight
Yeah.
shipping, you can ship one of those to my house.
Yeah, right. There you go.
I'll take it off your hands. You just have to pay shipping.
Yeah, you just have to pay the $1,000 in shipping.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna hop into this one because I know that you've been waiting to hear Reagan's voice later on. So back during the Great Depression, the spring was kind of like the dairy time, the dairy season. You could buy dairy outside of that, but I mean, good fucking luck. They didn't, obviously during the Great Depression, they don't have a great way of like keeping dairy for months
for
at a
long
time. But throughout all of the rest of the seasons, it was super expensive. People couldn't really get their hands on it unless you knew a dairy farmer.
Yeah, unless you were doing some trade locally.
Yeah, it
stuff
was
like
it was
that.
hard to get your hands on.
You're not going to a store and buying a gallon of milk during the Great Depression in most places.
And so dairy farmers it was kind of a more or less like a growing industry in that time.
Oh yeah, there were a lot of families who would, if they could afford to get any kind of animal that could
Supplement
produce
your fucking
something,
income somehow.
it'll supplement your income and just being able to eat something or drink something more. It made sense.
And so a lot of people started these just small dairy farms. Like they would just sell locally, whatever, sell to the local milkman. And as it grew and you started to see more and more of what initially were small dairy farms pop up and show up as not like huge conglomerates or anything, but just larger dairy farms, the government decided to step in to help support these programs through the Great Depression. And
that's socialism.
Yeah, right. And it worked pretty well. They incorporated, yeah, I know, right? They incorporated, let's see, where is it? The Commodity Credit Corporation, the CCC. It was, the CCP. It was made during the Great Depression to help stabilize farm income. So what would happen is the government would give these people a ton of money. They would also buy their excess product and help distribute it a little bit further so that these farmers aren't just like, hey, I can't get anything out because nobody can buy anything. Nobody can afford my crop. And now it all just goes to waste. So the government would utilize these, put it into government assistance programs, help distribute it while also still paying these farmers to keep their heads out of fucking rapidly rising water. So in 1949, the Agriculture Act granted the Commodity Credit Corporation to start buying dairy products from farmers, not just fruits and vegetables. Now it incorporates dairy as well.
Were they still doing it at that point because they were worried about another depression happening after the war, or the economic slowdown that happens after wars?
This was specifically in the 1949 Agricultural Act. I would imagine that the Commodity Credit Corp was doing this before then, but now they had like the big, huge government like blue check mark to say, hey, now you should be doing this across all facets of farming. So after 1949 into the 70s, obviously over the course of 20 years, dairy farms and farming methods are going to skyrocket and things are going to change massively. And that's exactly what happened. And it shifted so that, and I mean, shortly after, I think 1950, probably even a little bit before then, milk and dairy shifted from being like a seasonal thing to being year round because of the growth in these dairy farms and because of new farming practices. It completely flipped it on its head, and suddenly, you can get milk in October instead of only in May and June kind of thing.
Suddenly, when there's not a Great Depression and it's after a World War, technology advances, electricity gets cheaper, people get ice boxes, and refrigeration becomes, common. And
so...
No, that probably doesn't change anything, though.
Weird. Odd that you would say something so stupid. So the government and the CCC haven't shifted their focus with the 1949 Agricultural Act. So the CCC is still buying everything up. The government is still distributing and holding on to excess and whatever. And because of this, because of the amount that's coming through now year round, previously only 25% of the year they're getting dairy. Suddenly they're getting a 75% increase, and they're like, what the fuck do we do with all of this? And so they just start stockpiling it. They're like, we'll hold on to it because we'll make sure that we keep it a little bit more shelf stable. We have all this fucking extra money. We'll manage it. We'll put it into welfare programs. We'll distribute it out as we go.
Is this where all the pro-milk propaganda started to come out? At least in the 70s. I think that's when it started.
In the 80s and 90s, very, very, very likely. And I'll get into like everything in the 80s.
Oh, really?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
And in the early 1970s, these stockpiles are like huge. The government has the biggest stockpile of dairy products at this point.
It's a lot of string cheese.
Oh, yeah. It's a shit ton of string cheese. And then in 1973, this huge recession hits. And dairy prices increased by fucking 30%. People are like,
Didn't dairy
what the
prices
fuck?
increase by 30% since COVID?
I mean, probably, yeah, but I would.
But it was a
also-
bigger deal back
I
then.
would still consider that like
Oh, yeah. No, it's a big issue.
a recession.
That's a
and
huge
that it
problem.
raised fucking huge in the 70s
Yeah.
as well. And so the government's response was, okay, the price has blown the fuck up. So we're just going to buy everything. That way dairy farmers aren't completely out again, and the whole country's completely fucked when it comes to dairy, because if they're not selling anything, they're not making money. So the government goes, okay, we're going to buy up as much of this dairy as we possibly can, and we'll continue distributing it, and we'll go from there. The problem was they bought everything up, and then the price drops super low, and farmers are
That's
like,
exactly.
what
If
the
there's
fuck? Like, we aren't making any money off of this.
supply and demand. If there's no
Yeah.
supply,
Yeah. So they literally just fucking hug dairy farmers to death. Like, they're like,
Yeah.
oh, we sure love your cows. And it's just like, well, you just squoze them in half.
yeah.
What the fuck?
Oof. They kind of were a little aggressive there.
Yeah. So dairy just crumbles. Like,
Big dairy.
big dairy's fucked. So Jimmy Carter in 1976, or I think 1973 still, I'm not positive on the year, but he puts forth $2 billion into dairy
Jesus.
over 4 years. This is how like dire the situation was for dairy farmers in the 70s. So over 4 years,
That doesn't
$2
seem
billion.
very capitalist of them.
yeah, well, this is also prior to Reagan.
Well,
So, and this $2 billion is the way that they're going to do it is they don't want farmers to go broke, and they're going to help stabilize the prices of dairy overall instead. So now dairy falls under more of like a government subsidy rather than being like these individual prices. It's and I mean, you'll notice it when you go to most stores. Dairy, even now, it's pretty standard across the board through most stores because it's that government controlled like pricing. And a lot of these other farmers kind of see it and they're like, okay, like other people start entering, dairy production because of how much money is being circulated back into it by the government. So the government already has this massive store of dairy, and they're like, okay, we're gonna start turning it into butter. We'll turn it into fucking milk powder. We'll turn it into cheese. They end up having to stockpile all of this over 35 different states.
Jesus.
Now, flashback. In 1916, J.L. Kraft, yes, Kraft with a K, yes, the Kraft that you're thinking of,
Delicious.
made and patented the process for making processed American cheese. It was so much cheaper to make. It yielded so much more than other cheese, and it was overall a beneficial way of making your dairy shelf stable, but also turning it into plastic. Now, yes, this is like the yellow, like bright
like
yellow
Kraft
American
singles,
cheese
American
slices.
cheese
Yeah,
slices.
but they would make blocks of them like Velveeta, what you would see. Feels kind of like rubber. For those of you who aren't in the
Oh,
U.S.
if you're not in the U.S., there's actually a YouTube video you can watch about this.
Yeah, the guy that makes it.
No,
like
yeah,
the
Niall
chemical-
Red.
Yeah.
Niall Red. He's a chemist. I love him. I watch all of his videos, but he did one on processed cheese.
Yeah.
So good. Go watch it.
Yeah, and the way that he makes it is, I mean, his final product is basically identical to
No,
what
it's
they were.
it's chemically
they were kicking
identical
out. Yeah.
identical to what Kraft invented.
Yeah.
Over 100 years ago. Like it's crazy.
And so it makes dairy shelf stable. Like, yeah, it's probably recommended to store these in the fridge to keep it a little bit longer. But in 1916, obviously, that wasn't really.
Yeah, I'm curious how long they last.
I don't know. I'm not sure either. But yeah, dairy shelf life extends massively,
which is huge.
Cheese
That's a big
shelf
deal.
life extends when you turn it into plastic. But so for those of you who aren't in the U.S., it is like, and if you don't want to go watch the Nile Red video, fuck you, whatever. But it's like if rubber and plastic had like a bright yellow baby. Like that's the best way that I can describe it.
And they, why they made it yellow?
A salty baby.
Because up to that point, through the 1800s, even before that, up to that point, everywhere else besides America, cheddar cheese was white because the white showed that it was a high quality cheese. Or high quality milk. If you use lower quality milk, it would turn yellowish. Mm-hmm. American industrialization geniuses thought, let's just make all cheddar dyed yellow. So if we start using really shitty milk, nobody can tell because everybody thinks cheddar's supposed to be yellow.
That would make perfect sense.
So good cheddar in America is still probably dyed yellow in a lot of cases, unless you're buying white cheddar.
Because of
which
that.
White cheddar and yellow cheddar are the exact same thing, but
just
the
one
quality
has a
of
dye.
milk or dye is different.
Huh. I didn't know that. That's
So
crazy.
goofy. So now when you make craft singles, you can throw in the shittiest cheese or the processed cheese. You can throw in the shittiest process possible because it's all dyed the exact same shade of yellow.
It's all uniform yellow.
Which is that's just in a nutshell how American industry works. It's how can you get away with giving the lowest quality materials and make it look fine?
It's getting so much better, I promise.
Yeah.
So yeah, making these craft American singles, these blocks of Velveeta, the U.S. government sees this and they go, yo, we have so much fucking milk, dude. Why don't we just start utilizing this for our cheese blocks because it lasts so much longer than, and I mean, the process is so much easier than making high quality cheeses. That's an expensive thing.
Yeah.
We have all this
they
extra.
Go bad.
We just mix it in with some enzymes and boil it and you have fucking American cheese. So the government just starts kicking out, like I said, they're making butter and milk powder, but now they're making blocks and blocks and blocks of these cheeses. And these aren't like beautiful, like cheese rounds. These are literally just like cubes of cheese.
Yeah.
Like a rectangle.
They really take out
brick
any
of cheese.
type of natural shape from it. They really remove it.
So as farmers start to realize they can get these massive government payouts, more and more start hopping on board, like I said. Their processes continue to change after the 70s. Dairy is even further industrialized, and it's allowing for even more production that's coming out now year-round, and the White House is just like balls deep in fucking milk and dairy. Like like I said, it's across 35 states that they have stockpiles.
Rather than just cutting back on the spending.
You would think, yeah. And the excess isn't being thrown away. They just are continuing to store it in these. They're just adding it to the stockpile. They're like, okay, well, we'll put it in the mold storage in Delaware, whatever the fuck. And this stockpile hits, I shit you not, over 500 million pounds of cheese, of just cheese. This isn't even their like butter and
just raw
milk.
Dairy or anything.
This is just fucking cheese. 500 million pounds of cheese.
All right,
and it's hitting the point now where it's so expensive to maintain and keep fresh, so a lot of it is spoiling in these warehouses. The mold is spreading to other pieces of cheese and everything.
And it's making blue cheese.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, blue American cheese.
Yeah, blue American
great.
cheese. I did find that it can last in the fridge up to 3 months, usually on average, after its expiration date.
Oh, okay.
So that's like a 6-month piece of cheese that can technically last even longer.
Yeah.
You know, that's just like the average.
That's crazy.
But if you store it below 72 degrees, it goes more. If you throw it in the freezer, it's supposed to be good just forever in its original packaging.
Damn.
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me, but you'd also have to have the oversight in the U.S. government to be like, hey, why don't we freeze it instead? No.
Nah.
We'll just keep it in refrigerators and on, shelves.
Yeah, who needs it? That's crazy.
Now, we're going to pop over to the 1976 presidential campaign. Ronald Reagan is running, and he's been running with this idea that there are welfare queens out there in the welfare system. I have a soundbite for you guys that I'm going to play.
I hate his voice.
In Chicago, they found a woman who holds the record. She used 80 names, 30 addresses, 15 telephone numbers to collect food stamps, Social Security, veterans benefits for 4 non-existent deceased veterans' husbands, as well as welfare. Her tax-free cash income alone has been running $150,000 a year.
Oh, no.
I don't believe a word of what he's just said.
Okay.
Not a single word.
While what he said is, and when I say partially true, a very, very small percentage of what he said is true. It is not nearly as egregious as he says. The main focus on this so-called welfare queen that he's talking about is a woman named Linda Taylor. Now, I know that this has shifted from we were talking about dairy, and now we're talking about an election.
Welfare benefits.
I'll tie it up here in a little bit, I promise. So Linda Taylor is the welfare queen.
What a way to go down in history.
Yeah, right? She's a woman who fleeced welfare programs by fabricating and maintaining 33 identities, not 80. She used mainly wigs and makeup, but she successfully defrauded the U.S. government. And she was charged with it. However, he reported $150,000 per year stolen straight out of the pockets of, taxpayers.
The American
right
people.
Out of your fucking pocket. And in all honesty, it added up to $40,000 over the course of many years. Not $40,000 per year, not $150,000 per year. It was over less than a decade, $40K. On top of that, this was not only from the welfare program, she was taking from multiple different government services. On top of that, she was also defrauding private individuals as well. That's what that $40K falls into. She defrauded for $40,000. The $40K was not all directly from the single welfare program.
You mean Ronald fucking Reagan lied?
Yeah, wait a minute. He lied?
Are you kidding me?
The facts and the intentions
the facts
true?
and the intentions? Oh, God.
Now, Linda, she was... I could do an entire episode on this woman, and I very likely might down the line. She was involved in, one of the biggest 1970s kidnappings, 1960s, 70s kidnappings.
Did she frame it?
No.
Oh.
No. This was a much bigger charge.
Wait, she did the kidnapping?
Yeah. This is how she would fraud, dude. Not only is she stealing from these government programs, she's kidnapping all these little white kids and asking
getting,
for ransom back
shit?
and everything.
Oh my gosh.
There was an account that I read of someone that was I think he dated her or lived at her house for a little while, and he was like, I just remember getting home and there were a bunch of white kids there, and she was like, I'll be back, and she left in a nurse outfit, and that's how she would kidnap them. She'd show up and she'd be like, oh, your parents want me to, you're sick, you need to come with me, and these kids would be like, okay, and then she'd just bring another little kid home.
Oh my
She's
God.
just kidnapping these kids, putting them out for fucking ransom. And I mean, it's not like I want $3 million. It's like, I'll give your kid back for a couple grand.
$100.
Yeah,
couple G's.
Yeah,
It's the 70s.
not
so
even
couple
that.
G's.
Yeah,
Yeah, sorry. I know it looks like I'm on my phone. I'm not. I'm just looking at pictures of cheese. Is that the picture you sent?
That's the one I sent, yeah.
I just typed in American processed cheese history.
Oh,
and
yeah?
it's a bunch of old ads for the most part, and then one picture of Reagan came up.
It's just that block of cheese. If you want to see the picture, it's on our Instagram.
That's great. Sorry, I found an
you're
old
good.
display of the original Kraft cheese. Like
Ooh,
really
look
early.
like-
It does not look good.
Those
Looks like little tobacco
containers.
Yeah.
You should send that one to her so she can put that up. Now, not only was Linda kidnapping kids, she worked as a voodoo spiritual advisor.
Oh, hell yeah.
And she was caught with a conveniently dead client's credit card.
Ooh.
So, I mean, she's getting all this money that isn't from government programs.
Yeah,
all in all,
yeah.
she was officially charged with stealing, I think it was $9,000 from the U.S. government. $9,000 out of the $40,000 that she had defrauded from everybody
else. Okay, that's way different than what he's saying. God, what he was saying sounds like what my grandfather would say.
Yeah, he's Fox News.
He's 100%.
Just as a,
yeah.
It's just crazy. So the crux of Linda Taylor is that welfare fraud was not the problem here. Welfare fraud is never the problem. It is a government assistance program. Yes, people are going to take advantage of it. It's unfortunate. However, it's still helping people, so you shouldn't pull money back just because a few people fucked it up. Because it's assisting so many fucking people.
Yeah, legitimate people.
So yeah, he takes this super, super hard stance on pulling back on welfare programs. And I mean, even at the time, he would talk about these welfare queens, and like the left would be like, hey, dude, like that's a lie. And I mean, it was a true story. Like Linda Taylor was a real person. Yes, she stole from welfare, but like you're just blowing it out of proportion to fearmonger so that you can rally more votes.
Okay, I'm going to show you something that's going to completely derail this conversation.
Yeah.
Mac and cheese pancakes.
Oh, that's I don't know.
So it's you put the pancake batter down, and then you put a scoop of mac and cheese on it, and then you flip it.
I don't know. We'll talk
Dude,
about that.
The 70s were fucked up. What the hell? No wonder my father turned out the way he did. Holy shit.
So I'll hop back into it just so that I can.
Yeah.
No, you're good. So I can finish this one up because I still got a ways to go.
You're good.
So yeah, he puts the focus on pulling back on these welfare programs and takes money out of the hands that need it the most, especially just after a fucking recession. And in 1980, he ends up winning the presidency, and he continues to take this hard stance. Early on in his presidency, I think like in his State of the Union or whatever, he promises to reduce federal food stamps funding.
Yeah, who needs that?
He promises to pull back further to protect the taxes of the U.S. citizen. But take food out of the mouths of those.
Take the food out of the mouths of people who have been paying taxes, and put where that food deserves to go?
Into my pocket, into my paycheck,
into rich lobbyist pockets and large corporations. He's the downfall of America.
He takes this hard stance early in 1981. December 1981 rolls around, and there's a big event going on where the Department of Agriculture is meeting with Ronald Reagan. And they're sitting down and they're going to have a discussion. They're like going to break barriers here. I mean, it's just a standard meeting, whatever. However, the Secretary of Agriculture, John R. Block,
That's such a name. I love that.
He gets in touch with a bunch of journalists, a bunch of news stations, and he says, hey, meet me like in this hall. I kind of have like a little presser that I'm going to be putting on before we go meet with Reagan. So all these reporters show up. John R. Block walks in and he's got a package under his arm, and he blows the whole place. No, I'm just kidding.
And it fucking explodes.
So he sits down in front of all of these microphones and lifts up this box, puts it on the table, opens it up, and immediately just a smell fills the room. And he takes out this moldy brick of fucking cheese.
Nice.
And everyone's like, "Oh my God." And John goes on to say,
with you?
we have 60 million of these that the government owns. It's moldy. It's deteriorating. We can't find a market for it. We can't sell it. And we're looking to try and give some of it away. It's illustrative of what we're up against as we accumulate all of these dairy products.
You know, they should just throw it away and make sure nobody can eat it.
We'll talk about that.
No, that's
Now,
such a Reagan thing. That's a joke. That's a meme.
Luckily, like I said, luckily Reagan is here. Unfortunately, also Reagan is here. But luckily the event is the agriculture reps are like, we need to talk to Ronald Reagan about this because this is a fucking problem.
Yeah, you
And
don't say.
This is a big thing to kind of catch him off guard so that he doesn't show up and he's just, so illustrative and like smooth saying with all of his words to dance around a serious subject that the U.S. is now pulling back on food programs, but they have 60 million 5-pound blocks of cheese sitting around.
Yeah.
So, after the news breaks that, you know, the government has 60 million blocks of cheese that are molding, they're like, why the fuck are we pulling back on these food programs? It's starting to come out more and more.
It becomes, like a little controversy.
Why is Reagan so hard on feeding people if the food is going bad anyway? What the
what's the problem?
Yeah, give them their cheese.
Yeah.
So,
Mr. Gorbachev, bring them their cheese.
he looks like a fucking dickhead.
He really does.
Like, he looks like a
but
complete
that not
asshole.
Not just from this event, but this definitely
Reagan looks
illustrates
like
it.
an asshole all the time, but this specifically puts him in the biggest like dickhead light. He looks like a fucking halfwit that the government has all of this food and he's like, whoa, they don't need that food. Then what do you need the cheese for, Reagan?
Yeah.
Tell us.
You gonna eat it?
Tell us from the grave, what did you want the cheese for? We're holding a seance next week.
Call in.
Yeah, we're gonna bring back Reagan on Easter Sunday.
Oh God, that would be truly the end times.
So Reagan's precious little appearance in the media is hurt and he doesn't look good. So he comes forward with a program that promises to give. Now, if you multiply 5 pounds by 60 million,
that's a lot.
You get like 300 million, right?
Something like that. Yeah.
300 million pounds of cheese that was brought forth by the and that's and I mean that's not including the butter and the dried milk that they also have. So Reagan comes forward and he says, "Listen, I know you guys are upset. I know that we have all this cheese, so I'm going to pull an Oprah. Look under your chairs. Everyone has a block of cheese under their chairs.
God.
I am giving away 30 million pounds of cheese."
Okay, but hold that thought. Wouldn't that completely devalue the price of cheese for like 2 months?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wouldn't that just completely?
It would.
Wasn't that just?
It would devalue.
defeat-
It would devalue also really shitty, god awful government cheese.
Well, yeah, but doesn't that defeat the entire purpose of the programs that led to the
So,
stockpile of that
he's-
cheese?
In the announcement, he says he's going to give away the 30 million pounds of cheese, and he says at a time when American families are under increasing financial pressure, their government cannot sit by and watch millions of pounds of food go to waste.
Even though he wanted it to.
I really want him to have said millions of pounds of cheese to go to waste, but I bet that was written and someone was like, don't say cheese. That sounds stupid in the future. So, yeah, he was like, let there be cheese.
Ugh.
However, the 30 million pounds does not, it's not like you just call the government and say, hey, I want my free block of cheese.
Oh, yeah.
These
There's
are
gotta be
going-
the bureaucracy.
These are
right?
going straight into these government food programs. So
I couldn't even
yes,
call up and get
I know, right?
5 pounds of cheese.
5
I'd
pounds
be
of
pissed.
bad Velveeta.
I'd be pissed.
So it's not just like, oh, hey, contact them and you get free cheese. So that way it doesn't destabilize the dairy market.
Okay,
Again,
it's for people
they're
who are in
only
need.
giving it to people in need because only people in need are going to be willing to eat government cheese if you've ever had it. Now, the other 570 pounds of dairy, 570 million pounds of dairy, I should say. I can't speak for what happened to all of that.
We could guess.
But all of this surplus starts going to lunch programs, school lunch programs. It goes into welfare. It starts being distributed at community centers and low-income food programs. And
Diarrhea sweeps the nation.
Yeah, exactly. And they're getting 30 million pounds out while still having, like 10 times that amount
Jesus.
in their stockpiles.
So it's not even, making a huge dent in it.
Yeah, so the cheese that's bad, so like when you have like 600 million pounds of cheese and you're only giving out 30 million, you would think, the other 570 is like all bad probably, right?
Getting that way.
You can't really give out the bad cheese. So one USD rep was
just send it over to one of those poor nations.
better.
Oh, no.
This USDA representative is interviewed and he goes, I'm going to be honest. I think that, and this is the most 1980s fucking comment I've ever read. He said, I think dumping it in the ocean is the most practical, cheap option.
My God, are you shitting?
I'm not even
Dude,
kidding.
the fish don't want that. Are you kidding?
Not even kidding.
What a 1970s way to fix a problem.
His 1981 piece of shit
perfect.
goes,
Let's just
you know
dump it in
what?
the ocean.
Just throw it in the fucking ocean.
Oh
The
my
world's garbage
God.
can. Who gives? We're not going to have to deal with this in
Nah,
my lifetime.
It'll float away.
Yeah, it'll dissolve. That's
Holy
what plastic
shit.
cheese does, right?
Yeah.
Bro, these are like C4 bricks. They're not just going to dissolve.
It's going to completely... That's what's causing the coral reefs to die right now. That's not global warming. It's the cheese.
Right?
And those blocks of cheese got the nickname Garbage Island.
Garbage Island. It's all plastic. A lot of the cheese that was sent out to people... I mean, because fuck the poor, right?
Yeah.
Still came out moldy. People would open their fresh cheese box, and it stunk to high heaven, had mold on it, and people were like, just cut the fucking mold off. We need this food.
That is so much like what the Korean War was.
And this is in the fucking 80s.
That's
and in
crazy.
Like, even into like, I think into the late 80s as well. But that's a big reason why you started to see all of this advertising for like, hey, calcium fucking rocks. And you know what has calcium? Dairy products, kids. Because the U.S. continued to get this stockpile of cheese. They continued the program. They keep getting all this fucking cheese, all these dairy products, and they're like, we can't have...
What are we going to do with it?
we can't have this like bad look again.
This is the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
So most of what was considered good on the shelf is what everybody, whenever you talk to like Gen X about what they ate as a kid, they're like, fucking government cheese sandwiches, man.
Oh,
like, it doesn't melt. You can put it in the microwave and it'll still come out a brick. Like, it's only good with like as macaroni and cheese or like grilled cheese sandwiches.
Yep. It kind of jellies. It like jellies. It's weird.
It's really weird. But a lot of people also didn't want it because they were like, whoa, only government assistance program people have this.
Oh, this is the poor food. So of course.
So a lot of people kind of rejected it as well. And it just got this status, like, oh, fucking government cheese, man. Which, I mean, it was disgusting. But
yeah, I'm not after this episode, I think I'll try some. But I remember having it as a kid and being like, there's something off. There is something unsettling about this cheese.
Yeah, dude.
I do not like this.
If you haven't had it and you're like, have I had? You would know if you've had good for
I'm going to out my wife right now. She loves Velveeta.
Hey,
she's into craft singles.
That's
weird.
Some people are all for it.
Yeah, some people don't have taste.
I think it has a place sometimes when I'm really fucking stoned and I don't want great food. But I will be honest, American cheese it's really good on a burger. I'm gonna be honest. Like,
I
fucking
will.
works.
I will admit, on a burger, I mean, cheddar would be better.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Pepper jack,
Anything's
provolone, Gouda,
better. Yeah.
anything.
Oh, absolutely.
Literally anything.
It's
but
all
it's
better.
not bad there.
But it I guess it does the job. It's okay.
Yeah. It
But
gets the
government
point across.
cheese, imagine Kraft American singles, but worse. It's not quite Kraft American cheese, not quite Velveeta. Imagine if like a Salt Lick and a cow
Yeah.
fucked and also had a threesome with like
With
a
a plastic water bottle
yeah,
or something.
like a plastic water bottle. Like I said, it melts, but it doesn't. It's not great. If you love government cheese, props
Yeah, that's
to
all right.
you.
Not for me.
But yeah, it got a lot of people through really tough times in the 80s. So I guess I can't talk too much shit because it fed families.
Oh, that, I was, I went and visited my family. That's how I started this off. My grandfather came from a very poor place.
Yeah.
Very, extremely poor in Ohio. And he told me about how basically their breakfast every morning was plain oatmeal. He would wake up because he had to go to school first.
Cream
so
of
he'd
wheat.
wake up, make a pot of oatmeal, then he'd put it into his bowl, and then dump it back out, and then put the bowl in the sink so it looked like he ate it. Because if he didn't, his mom would probably beat him.
Yeah, she'd be pissed that he wasted food.
Yeah, or that he didn't eat. Because
that too.
they need to be eaten.
Yeah.
And he's like, ugh, I was so
Gross.
sick of it for so many years.
Now imagine a nice slice of government cheese on top of that.
That might actually make it better. Have you had just plain oatmeal?
Yes, and it's fucking
It is
awful.
so bad.
It's not good.
It's just, I don't know how he did it. It was a simpler time.
Yeah, it was simply damn.
They don't
But
build
yeah.
them as tough. Sorry, that
Fun
was a
fact,
derail.
in 2019, the U.S. once again bought 22 million pounds of cheese
So it's still ongoing.
to subsidize because of all of the trade wars that Donald Trump imposed on Canada, the EU, China. The U.S. more or less required, like they hit a point where they were like, oh fuck, like we got to start fucking stockpiling cheese again because we're gonna destabilize the dairy market once again.
Oh my god.
So there is a good chance within the next maybe 30 years or so,
the government cheese is coming back?
starts circulating again.
That's a pressure
see.
points
Yeah,
prediction.
That's a PP guarantee, baby. So yeah,
That's crazy.
fucking wild. And I love that there's like so much politics and just tomfoolery that goes into government fucking cheese that everybody bitches about, but really we can just blame Ronald Reagan
Once again,
for the entire
something I
It all
hate
comes back to him.
is
It all
Ronald
comes
Reagan's
back.
fault. Who could color
Oh,
me
wow.
surprised
Who could have ever
that he
expected
fucked
this?
something else up?
Yeah, right.
Oh.
Also, first Reagan episode.
Yeah, we were talking about that. We've talked about him and how much I hate
I think
him.
he's come up. I just don't
He's come
think
up,
that we've
but we haven't done
talked-
an episode where he's like a central
where
figure.
he's like, supporting cast.
yeah,
Because this is John R. Block's episode.
yeah.
Like,
This is John yeah.
R. Block of Cheese's episode.
John R. Block of Cheese. I didn't even make that connection.
Oh shit! Well, if you guys would like an extra episode per month, this month's will be free and it will be recorded this week. Check us out on Patreon. Forgot the word again.
Wow.
Patreon.com/points-o-pressure. AJ is working on a series called Voices. He has a new one out. If you blanked out at the start of the episode and didn't hear him talk about it, go check those out. We have 30 plus sloppy seconds episodes on there. It would be greatly appreciated if you can subscribe. If you cannot, just go make a free account on there. Like, you don't have to do anything.
No
we would
problem.
appreciate it. Or if you just go to the website, that's cool too. You got those names?
Of course. In a different window.
Yeah, that's fine. But yeah, a lot of extra content that we're throwing on there. We're trying to do more for our patrons. So yeah.
So we've got the chairpersons, Minnie D, Thomas, and Toddle Waddle.
all ate government cheese and insisted we say that it is their favorite kind of cheese.
Yeah. And in fact, they were really fighting against this episode because it was originally much more slanderous against the cheese.
That's true.
Somehow
they didn't like how negative we put government cheese. The light that we put on government cheese was a little too negative. They insisted we changed the tone. So that's honestly, that's what you can do as part of the board. That's the
sway you have
as part of the chair people.
So thank you guys thank you all three of you Ronald Reagan enjoyers. We're gonna hear about that one. And then of course we've got Abby, AJ's Third Nut, Nordic Thunder, Weston, Dark Runner, D's Nuts, G-Dog, Hayden, Laura Revo, and Lindo. Thank you all so much. We really appreciate everything that you guys do.
You guys are fantastic.
And I think...
Yeah, we appreciate you guys. And if you guys ever would like to send any recommendations for an episode, you find an article that you're like, hey, this falls under the scope of what you guys have covered before, send it to us. Any feedback you have, send it to us. If you have recommendations for movies, TV shows, music, books, magazines, porn, different kinds of Coca-Cola, your favorite Girl Scout cookie, if you just want somebody to talk to.
Tag-alongs are mid now.
That's what I've heard, yeah. I hear that all the Girl Scout cookies are mid.
They're
but
that's
why I said Girl Scout hater AJ at the start of the episode. But yeah, if you guys ever need somebody to talk to, or you just want to send memes, by all means, reach out to us on Instagram at PointsOPressure. Feel free to email us at ppdnaj, all the letters, at gmail.com, or go to our website, pointsopressure.com. Go to contact us, send us a voicemail or an email, and we will catch you guys next Monday.